Now, legitimately, when I started playing Path of Exile 2, I had heard a lot of people say, you know, just follow a league starter. It makes everything a lot easier. You don't have to worry about a thing. Just bip, bim, boom, there you go, and everything is good. But as a casual player, nobody really told me what was going to happen when you followed a league starter. So I went ahead and chose the Martial Artist and a Whirling Assault Hollow Form build. I chose that as kind of my focus through leveling to getting into Endgame, and what has happened has made me fall in love with this game so much more than I ever did before. So make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more caffeinated content. So when I initially started playing Path of Exile 1, I tried to theorycraft my own build, and I ended up making like some high block chance Thorn, damage reflect Templar, and it was okay for a while. Like, it was all right for a while. And then I hit a wall, and it became damn near impossible for me to get past where I was. So I had to go back and follow a build, and I think I followed Fox's Righteous Fire build, which was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. But the idea of it is that as a dad who does not have a whole heck of a lot of time to sit down and theorycraft, a league build, a league starter guide, was like a saving grace. Like quite a few of you guys, I don't have a ton of hours to play on any given day for Path of Exile. I might put in a half hour, an hour here and there, but I'm working at it at my own pace and trying to get through the game, just figuring it out as I go. Now, the idea of the league starter build, and then even following it into early mappings into kind of like mid-end game, or we'll say the beginning of end game, I found that the guide does a really good job of setting up your character, but then it carries you only so far. You kind of have to put the pieces together to understand it wholly. And this was actually an absolute lifeline for me because, again, I don't have time to sit down and tinker and work on what works for this build, what doesn't work for that skill, and, you know, this is probably better than this, and work on all that different theory craft. It ended up saving me a lot of time and a lot of heartache, and it made the leveling process and then even the early end game a hell of a lot smoother. So the build that I initially followed was a Whirling Assault build, but it had focused mainly on physical damage. So it didn't really pick up until about like level 41-ish, 42, before I actually got Whirling Assault and could actually hit all the stuff. Prior to that, it was Glacial Cascade and Frozen Locust and just exploding everything with frost damage, which worked really well. Like, the main campaign was incredibly easy. Act 4, by the time I got to like Act 3 and 4, where I got Whirling Assault and I was hitting everything, I was just cruising through. I dropped a double Tempest spell and bang, boom, and it was melting bosses, it was clearing mobs. There was a lot of really good things going for it. Now that I've gotten to mapping, and now that I've gotten to endgame, I have immediately run into a noticeable wall. The same build that I was using, the same build that had gotten me to where I was no longer adequate. And at that point, I really had to start working on what was going to carry me that next step forward. Now, the guide that I was following was all right. It got me where I needed to go, but I ended up taking a quick juxtapose and going off and following a build from Jung Ron on YouTube. Big YouTuber, makes a whole bunch of content on Path of Exile 2. And let me tell you, that build, once I got it down and once I started putting all the pieces together, it has been like night and day difference. I have easily cruised from like tier 3 or 4 maps to now up to like 6 or 7 with the same gear. Like, it just in that little bit of a change, that little bit of a focus. Now, I won't say that it's enough that I'm like clearing tier 15s and doing all that no problem. No, I'm not saying that. It's more so along the lines that there was a noticeable change just in the allocation of my skill points, and then also putting my passives together. Like, the gear that I have is pretty okay, it's all right, but it was able to make a noticeable difference just in that short time. And just having someone to be able to go through and figure all that information out for me really helped out. That's what that build got right. Now, I will say that I'm starting to slow down on that progress. So I made that change. To this type of build, and I've noticed that I'm able to clear most mobs fairly quickly. Like, I'm able to clear most maps. It's boss fights that are a little bit difficult. So there's a Kalgurin skill gem that I have to use that blocks all enemy attacks. It sacrifices my runic ward, but it blocks all attacks and parries them. Any parried attacks causes the enemy to take 50% increased damage. The idea is that I use the primal shapeshift so that I switch into a wyvern, get the 50% extra lightning damage, get the extra 50% from the parried attacks, so they're taking 50% more damage. And then from there, I should have more power charges. And I'm starting to realize that not only my gear, but then also my ascendancies, I still haven't done my third trial. I will need to do my third and fourth, which will drastically increase a lot of my damage overall. And I also know that I'm probably going to need to get better gear. Now, having said that, like the quarterstaff that I have is pretty good. I think it does pretty good damage. It's pretty decent across the board. I'm not one-shotting bosses, and I've also noticed that it's a little bit slower because I don't have these aspects. And maybe that's just something that I'll have to get to in time. What I found out was that I went from clearing maps very, very quickly to now I have to be a bit more strategic. I have to move a little bit slower to make sure that I don't put myself into a bad position. Overall, the build is fantastic, and it's doing work as far as everything that I'm going to need it to. But it's also, I'm kind of taking my time in this regard, because I need to also understand all the different mechanics that are moving into place, like making sure that I'm getting devours so that I can generate power charges, and then also keeping up my rend buff while I'm clearing enemies. And you know, now I should be switching over to killing Palm with the Shattered Bells or the Hollow Focus or the Hollow Locust. Like, there's all these different moving parts, and it's exciting, but it's also kind of like stressful because I can die very, very quickly in a lot of these senses. All in all, I'm saying I followed the build and it was a lot of fun, and also slightly nerve-wracking once you get up to this point where it becomes kind of like a gear check, a DPS check. You have to be able to do the damage and survive the hits the way as best you can. So all in all, great fun, had a great time. So my final consensus of if it's worth for a casual player, a working dad, someone who doesn't have a whole lot of time, yes and no. If you've experienced Path of Exile 2 before and you've already played through the campaign and you got to enjoy that first initial playthrough, then I would say 100% without a doubt, League Starter, go with it, run with it. It makes everything a lot more engaging. It makes it a lot more, we'll say, fun, fast. Someone's already put in the time and effort and you're able to cruise through. If it is your first time playing Path of Exile 2, I would say probably not. I mean, yes, your first initial playthrough is probably going to take a while, but you only ever get one first initial playthrough. You know, like, the story is pretty good. The experience of putting the pieces together of your skill gems, your passives, and things like that, it really does make a big difference when you're going through. It's exciting. And I feel like if you just follow a League Starter build or a League Guide build, you kind of take that aspect, that fun aspect out of it, but that's just me. If you're a new player and you have no care for the story and you just want to be able to blast through on relatively easy mode, then I would say follow League Starter Guide and you'll have no problem. 10 for 10, would recommend. If you guys want to, you can see my full Working Dad's review of basically the main game, the campaign of Path of Exile 2. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.